There's lots of studies that show that that helps your body produce more testosterone and it increases your libido, okay? Hey guys, I'm Mark McKilly with Live Anabolic, and today I want to talk to you about your testosterone levels. So there's lots of ways, simple ways, for us to keep our T levels as high as we naturally can, especially after the age of 50. But before I get into those ways, let's just talk about testosterone and why it's important. I would say almost everybody watching right now has a pretty good feeling why you want to keep, your testosterone levels as high as possible. But remember that as we age, our body just naturally produces less T year after year after year. It's a bummer, all right? I'm not real fired up about it, but I do every little kind of trick I can to keep it as high as possible. So our T levels max out when we're in the, upper 20s, maybe 30 years old. That's about, it hits a plateau, and then it slowly starts to drop just a tiny bit year after year. And at first, of course, you don't feel it because it's only dropping about 1 to 2% per year. But do the math, guys. I'm 60. It's been 30 years since I was 30. All right. If it's just 1% a year, that means my T levels, would naturally be 30% lower than they were when I was young. So, man, I need every little trick in the book to keep that stuff as high as possible. And of course, your testosterone is great for all kinds of reasons. And so I want you to check out some of the other videos on this channel, because Gary and I have shot probably dozens of videos by now on T levels, and there's a bunch of good stuff. So just use the little search feature in the upper right hand side of this YouTube channel and just type in testosterone, and you'll see probably 20 or 30, maybe even more videos that Gary and I have shot. So check out some of those. But your testosterone is not just about building muscle. It's about keeping your libido high. It's about your body being more efficient at using fat stores as a source of energy, all right, instead of just the carbohydrates that you just ate. There's lots of, really good reasons why we want to keep our T levels high. And so I got 4 simple little tricks I want you guys to think about today. And 2 of them are super simple, and the other 2 are not much harder. They're pretty straightforward also. Okay, so the first one I want to talk about is just skip breakfast, all right? Now, this is not one of the 2 super simple ones that I was mentioning. This is the pseudo simple. So for a lot of people, you might think you're going to be just starving to death by the time you get to lunch, but just experiment with it and try. Now, some of you guys don't eat breakfast anyway, and the reason I tell you to skip breakfast is because if you do it right, you can create a situation where you're basically doing intermittent fasting. All right, and you don't have to do this every day. A lot of guys have picked it up and love it. Makes them feel really alert. They actually say it gives them more energy. And part of that more energy is because studies show that it can actually help increase your testosterone levels. So what happens is most guys who do intermittent fasting will eat from, say, lunchtime to dinner, say from 12 o'clock noon to about 8 p.m. at night. And then they don't eat at all until lunch the next day. So that's 16 hours of no food, basically no calories coming in. And they can have as much, water and coffee and things like that as you want, but as long as there's not a lot of calories in there, your body is fasting, okay? And there's all kinds of little chemical things going on in your body that it's way over my head, but I can read a study, and the studies say that when you do this on a regular basis, it really does help your body's ability to produce as much testosterone as it naturally can. And then the other benefit to this, guys, is, especially for you guys that are trying to lose weight, trying to, get rid of that belly fat, is it's a real easy way to cut back on the number of calories that you consume every day. All right, because if you're only eating in an 8-hour window, it's much harder to overeat than if you're eating throughout, the entire day from, 7 a.m. in the morning when you wake up till 10 o'clock at night. So guys, try intermittent fasting. You don't have to do it every day. You might just do it 3 days a week, and if you like it, bump it up to 4 or 5 days a week. And then some of you guys are actually going to fall in love with it, and you're going to want to do it all the time. Okay, now the second tip is one of the two super simple ones that I told you about at the very top of this video. And that is, we need to avoid all these chemicals, that are in our everyday life. If you've been watching the news lately, it seems like I've seen more of it recently than I have in previous months and years. But, our T levels as men, just in general, especially in the Western world, are much lower now than they were 30, 40, 50 years ago. I mean, a lot lower. And a lot of scientists are speculating that it's because of all the chemicals that are just in our natural environment. And I'm not talking about necessarily breathing in chemicals, but I'm talking about your plastics that all your food are in, and your shampoo, and your toothpaste, and, basically everything, your stuff you put on your skin, I mean, just, it goes on and on and on. So there's a lot of, kind of chemicals, in our everyday life. And the reason those chemicals are there are really, advantageous for almost everything else. But there is a negative side effect, and that is, it really does tend to suppress our testosterone levels. Matter of fact, I've seen on the news recently talking about sperm count in men is down 50%. And it's been dropping roughly 10% per decade for the last 50 years. So it's kind of crazy. But there's lots of things you can avoid in your environment. I've shot other YouTube videos about this. Just once again, use that search feature. But one simple, super simple way is just to, get rid of the toothpaste that you're using. This stuff is called Legendary Men's Care. I started using this almost a year ago. All right, it's all natural. It doesn't have any of those chemicals in there that can kind of screw up your body's production of testosterone. And the other neat thing, it tastes phenomenal. Okay, most toothpaste tastes fine to me. It's it's all that mint kind of stuff. This is radically different. I don't even know what this taste is. I can't describe it to you guys, but it almost tastes so good you want to swallow it. Now don't, because you accidentally do swallow some of your toothpaste, all right? It gets in your saliva, you spit it out, but there's still some remnants in there. So anyway, that's one of the problems with our existing toothpaste is you ingest some of it accidentally. But this stuff is really cool, and we partnered with this company. So if you use a code, that's below this video, it's called Anabolic 10. Use that as your code when you buy the toothpaste, you'll get a 10% discount. So some things are a lot of trouble when it comes to increasing our testosterone. This is not. And if you don't try it, you'll never know. But this stuff is fantastic tasting. And guys, you're gonna buy toothpaste anyway. Why not give this a try? Okay, so tip number 3 is another of the two super simple ones. And that is spice up your meals. Now, it's easy for me to say because I have a pretty good gut. Almost nothing bothers me, when I'm eating food. And that is onions and garlic. So if you can consciously try to add more onions and garlic to your food, there's lots of studies that show that helps your body produce more testosterone and it increases your libido, okay? And a lot of times those two things go hand in hand. Now, for you guys that get stomachs, especially as we get older, I mean, I know my dad couldn't eat onions, all right? So if that's a problem, all right, you're gonna have to skip this tip, all right? But give it a try for all you other guys out there. If garlic and onions don't bother you, try to add them to a lot of your meals. I mean, you can put that stuff in your scrambled eggs, for goodness sakes. So, cheeseburgers, I always get lots of onions on there. When I go to like the Subway shop and I'm eating really healthy, I get double meat, double cheese, and then I'll load that Subway sandwich up with spinach and lots of onions and lots of peppers, okay? Tastes fantastic, but all that kind of stuff is really good for you. So give it a shot, guys. Some of y'all love that stuff anyway, and that's why it will be super simple for you. All right, so the fourth and last tip, guys, is actually harder than it sounds, okay? And that is go to bed. Go to bed on a regular basis. You got to get your sleep in. And if you've seen some of my other videos, you will have heard me talk about sleep, okay? Sleep is really important for your hormone production. And it's not just about, waking up, fresh and full of energy. It's at night when you're sleeping is when your body actually produces the vast majority of our hormones throughout the entire 24-hour period. So if you're shortchanging your sleep, okay, if you're not getting good, deep, restful sleep, it's not just being tired that affects you. It's the side effects that come with that, and that is lower testosterone levels. And there's all kind of other good hormones that are being produced at night that you're going to be, low on. So guys, if you can get 7 to 8 hours sleep, and that's what the studies show, all right? Some of you guys are just freaks of nature, and you can get by with 5 or 6 a night and still feel really fresh, and you guys are probably doing okay, all right? But the vast majority of us, including myself, I need at least 7 hours. Otherwise, I'm going to be exhausted, all right? And it accumulates too. So if you need 7 to 8 a night and you end up just getting 6 for 3 or 4 or 5 days in a row, that's a cumulative effect. There's all kinds of weird sleep studies that show this. So guys, really, if you can, try to create a good schedule where you go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time, and it helps your circadian rhythms, okay? And it just makes everything work a lot better. And actually, guys, this is probably one of the tougher ones for me. So I don't do a good job of getting enough sleep. I don't do a good job of getting to bed early and at the same time. I tend to go to bed late some days and early, and it just screws everything up. So I don't take my own advice all the time, but at least I'm honest enough to admit that this is something I need to work on. And then finally, guys, 4 simple tricks here, all right? But they're not going to work if you just do them occasionally. You have to stick with it and never give up on yourself.